Hi guys, let's see what we can do together. One sec.
Now, what has happened here is pure a game of deception that Hamas and its friends played against Israel.
The legend of Mossad, an aura of Israeli invincibility, have been destroyed, shattered. My view is it is beyond a non-state actor. बिल्कुल चूक हुई है, बहुत बड़ी, and from the military point of view, some of it is inexcusable.
It is actually
People should get Abraham Accords गए, Saudi deal गई.
वो बिल्डिंगें तोड़ रहे हैं, बम फेंक रहे हैं. The majority of the Hamas has dispersed already. You will now suddenly start seeing a lot of lone wolf attacks. Other resistance groups across the world, that includes our JNK, our PFI, you'll suddenly find that there will be a similar kind of attacks attempted.
Why does a terror organization want to show the war crimes that it is doing and live stream it themselves?
Answer lies in your question. The terror organization. This is the terror that he wants to put it into the people.
Where was the CIA? Five Eyes.
Five Eyes, yes.
Where was
My
Well, I am live streaming, but I'm not a terror organization. I'm a single individual. And where was the Five Eyes? Well, in 2018, there was a citation on my ORCID ID which said that Gaza Strip needs more cameras. And this was in 2018. And after 2018, I have trumpeted on my YouTube shorts that Hamas is amassing rockets in Israel, Gaza. But who cares to listen to a two-bit live streamer, right? Like, for example, for every rocket that they launched from Gaza, they launched 5,000 rockets, and for every rocket that they launched through Gaza, it cost them 6 crores. So that's 30,000 crores. 30,000 crores worth of rockets. Where did all that cash come from? Who is funding them? So these are all major questions.
favorite bugbear, they were looking at the plumber.
Yeah.
And when they yes.
Plumber के पीछे पड़े हुए थे.
What is Netanyahu's biggest fear? यहाँ तो हो रहा है. Hezbollah rocket arsenal is 150,000 rockets. कल को उसने अगर इजरायली सिटीज
150,000. If 5,000 rockets cost 30,000 crores Indian rupees, how much does 150,000 rockets cost? It's not a legitimate figure.
इस पे बरसाया, Netanyahu will have no option but to open up two fronts.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. My guests today are Lieutenant General Raj Shukla and Colonel Hani Bakshi. Joining me in this conversation is my colleague Ajit Dubey. Colonel Bakshi has appeared on the podcast before, and you can watch this episode 18, in which he tells us about the elite unit in the Indian Army, which was created to conduct anti-terror operations. Lieutenant General Raj Shukla headed the Army Training Command in Simla and is a veteran of counter-insurgency operations in Jammu and Kashmir. In the podcast, we will discuss the Hamas attacks that took place in Israel, the intelligence failure, operational mistakes, and the larger geopolitical issues. What can India learn from this attack? Lieutenant General Shukla, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. And Colonel Bakshi, I can't even begin to tell you what a hit the earlier podcast with you was.
Thank
so
you.
everybody like
all your work. All your
not
work.
at all. So it's like jahan pe bhi main jati hu, they say, oh, I remember that. And then Colonel Pavitran, of course, when I speak about that. So Ajit, I will use the pecking order and I will begin boss you in that respect. So I'll begin by asking, and then, of course, because you've done more ground reporting, I would want you to take over. Jen Shukla, I want to talk about this what happened in Israel, and there's a whole lot of talk that there was this intelligence failure, and how
There was no intelligence failure in Israel. Well, you see, the pus has to be removed, and when you pluck pus out of your body, uh, it creates splashes elsewhere. So, yeah, like Israeli women going home to mutter, I mean, dying and going home to mutter, Israeli children dying and going home to mutter, Israeli men dying and going home to mutter is just collateral damage. Mossad men in that fest, 227 Mossad men dying and going home to mutter is just collateral damage for the anger to be aroused from Israel. If Israel can be angry and aggressive, there is nothing like it. So even if I gave out information in 2018 that Gaza Strip needs more cameras and no action was taken, an angry Israel is a more potent Israel than a sleeping Israel.
how could the Mossad and the Shin Bet and the intelligence apparatus in Israel be so clueless that this multi-pronged attack took place? So, in your view, what was your first reaction when you saw this? Was it like as civilians we would think, "Ki ye kya ho gaya?" Was your reaction also the same?
So, my first reaction, honestly, was that is this happening with Israel? Because, see, we in the armed forces, at least I personally admire the IDF a lot.
Hmm.
Israel has been a national security state, and very often when we used to discuss, the best global models, it used to always be IDF. And
Yeah, IDF is still the best global model because it has shown that anybody can be used as collateral damage to achieve potent force uh, in and belief in your systems at a dangerous possibility.
their intelligence. So, if I may just, give one a brief overview, and then I'll come to the intelligence sense.
Right.
So, you see, in my view, as I was thinking about it, this 10/7 is like 9/11. It is a failure of imagination. This is what the 9/11 Commission said. And
Hmm.
I'll tell you why. Look at the epithets that have been used to describe it. Lapid, the opposition leader, says it is the most lethal attack on Jews since the Holocaust. That's saying something.
Right.
The IDF spokesman said that it is the worst civilian massacre in 75 years of Israel's history. And this happened with Netanyahu. He's called, I'm told, Mr. Security, which means he told the Israelis that we'll have this $1 billion fence, a wall along the West Bank, and you are free.
No, there were no such comments made. Basically, Israeli Defense Force was continually saying that me being a part of Israeli Defense Force, I had a Mossad on my mailing list. We were continually saying that there need to be more cameras on Gaza Strip, and yeah,
To do what you like. And I mean, honey is the int man, but ये Mossad के बारे में क्या कहा जाता है? That, if you got a thought going in your mind about the Israelis, they would know.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the metaphor.
Right.
It is the legend of Mossad. और भनक भी नहीं लगी. That is surprising. Look at the IDF
भनक लगी पर आपको समझ में नहीं आया.
reaction. People in Israel are saying, where was the IDF? वो एक जो Beriki, the kibbutz about that farming community.
Yes.
People were gunned down, and the first IDF detachments came after 4 hours, 5 hours, 17 hours. Of course, abhi pata lag raha hai that much of the IDF had been moved from the south to the north along the West Bank. So there are some larger political decisions. But Israel is in a state of shock. And you said कि मेरे दिमाग में क्या ख्याल है?
Right.
This aura of
The state of shock of Israel is the first mover advantage that Israel has.
Israeli invincibility, and as I said, the legend of Mossad, they have been destroyed, shattered. Now to restore that, and this is the game, since Israel is a hard state, now to restore that image to redeem the image of IDF, they may get drawn into something which may not be militarily prudent, and therefore it is a double whammy. We have to be very careful about the response. It has to be calibrated. And just 2 short points about intelligence, then we'll give it
Right.
to Hani. अभी इसकी अटकलें लग रही हैं. I mean, they're not yet established. But now, as it happens, see, I am of the view that there is never intelligence failure. There is always information. It just doesn't get joined. You take 9/11.
Yeah, there is correctly pointed out. There is never an intelligence failure. There is always information points. It's just not joined. nahi. It was joined, but it was brought to a point where boiling point where these things needed to happen for the world to have more hatred towards Islam.
9/11, the FBI and the CIA had the names of the hijackers, including their aliases, in their records. It was just that they were in silos and they didn't speak. George Bush was briefed. He said, "You have covered your backside, now let's get on." Many of these issues in the past. This case now, it's been told कि March में there was a meeting in Beirut with the boss of the IRGC Quds, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Quds, जिसमें हिजबुल्लाह के आदमी थे, जिसमें हमास के आदमी थे, and the main actor in this, Honey would know, is the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PIJ. They are the danger guys. एक meeting हुई, and what is that meeting about? I mean, अटकलें ही हैं, but why should people meet? The second thing, yesterday I heard on one of these shows, I think it was a Caroline Glick show, the Egyptians, in fact, she names Al-Sisi.
Yeah,
Al-Sisi spoke to Netanyahu and said that something big is going to happen. And Netanyahu ignored it. But you see, we shouldn't confirm all that because they are just news tales. But I'm quite sure, and this is my military hunch, कि 1-2 महीने बाद पता लगेगा कि सब कुछ था, only the dots didn't get connected. And why they didn't get connected with a state like Israel, which prides itself on technological intelligence, surveillance, is a matter of mystery. And
Why it did not get connected is because we needed that collateral damage to create sorrow, to be a potent force. video No.
though there are terror attacks, we'll come to this later. If you see, they have been conceived with sophistication.
Yeah, they have been conceived with sophistication. Tomorrow, anybody can be collateral damage, is the message that Israel has shown to the world. You can have any citizen of the country as collateral damage to achieve your goals against your enemies. That is the whole point.
Planned with brilliance and clinically executed. It is a terror attack, but it is a high-grade military invasion. And
it's a military invasion.
We'll come to the details of it. So these are my initial thoughts. Let Honey join in, and then I will tell you when you come to the detailed mechanics of why it needs to be admired in the military sense. मतलब बहुत ही खूबी से, sophistication से किया गया भी, and I'll tell you the small things which will indicate why it was a superbly planned and executed. And therefore, if I may just make this point,
right,
my view is it is beyond a non-state actor.
Okay.
This has the footprints of Iran. Let's name Iran. It may not be the mastermind, but footprints. देखिए जिस तरह वो drones हुए हैं attack, those drones, the way they took out the observation towers, the way those quadcopters carrying double tandem charged RPGs hit the tanks from the top. These are months of planning. A very detailed execution, from the tactics to the strategy to the politics, very carefully coordinated. और ये सब चीजें हुई हैं, इसमें महारत ईरान की है. Drones, rocketry, missiles. See, why is it that the rockets रोज फायर होते हैं वहां पे? This was this barrage of 7,000, which stunned Tel Aviv, which penetrated the Iron Dome.
I don't have anything more to
There
say
are
on
deep
this.
military matters in it, and therefore it leads.
So let's stop the streaming. You see, there are 6 bars out here. So the 6 bars represent my 6 Vodafone SIMs. So basically, that's the most number of SIMs a person would want. And this is the best review of Mossad and Israeli intelligence that I have done.